All right, I'm all set. Hi, everyone. Okay, so when I looked around at all the little squares of people that I have grown to know deeply and love, it's so nice to see all of you. However, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the cottage meetings that I think most of you attended. Actually, there were about 60 members that attended the 8 different cottage meetings that we held through October and November. And I want to talk with you. I think you know that the purpose of these meetings was the intent was to let us dialogue about our relationship with the UUSA, our relationship in those turbulent 3 years of trying to be a spiritual community together when we couldn't be together, and how that impacted our relationship to this community and to each other. And so we had these 8 different meetings, and they were as identical as they could be. Some were on Zoom and some were in person. But all of the questions had the same format. They all started off with agreeing to a covenant that included deep listening. It included an awareness of time constraints. We all agreed to have no crosstalk, and we all honored what was said in that meeting, and agreed to keep it in confidence. And we all were asked the same 6 questions. And the Leadership Development Committee really took a lot of time to craft these questions so that they were open-ended, but also offered all of us an opportunity to reflect on our relationship with this community. And another key thing that I think was really important is, before we asked for responses to the questions, we gave people a time to pause and think, so that there was not that frequent feeling we have of when we are asked to participate and we have no time to put our thoughts together. So we allowed for about 45 seconds of silence before we started each round. And the first question that you probably remember being asked was, "We have struggled through trying times, and in the face of all you have experienced, what now brings you joy?" And the responses to this were delightful. They were, most of them dealt with the word connection to others in the UUSA community, connection with family. Another frequent response was the fact that they had found joy over their new ability to control how they spent their time. So people didn't have to worry about driving places. They took up hobbies, they learned a musical instrument, they gardened, they communed with their pets. There were some wonderful responses. The second question was, in the face of all that you have experienced, what continues to give you pain or deep discomfort? And this one was really revealing too. The most frequent response included that the state of the world was the thing that caused deep discomfort. Isolation, the pandemic's impact on younger generations. Many people talked about illness among their family members. People were fearful of the continued repercussions of the pandemic. A number of people talked about personal safety, and a number of people talked about missing the UU community. And then the third question, After living through this pandemic, what has personally changed for you? And again, the whole idea of having control over how people spend their time came up. The other thing that was common was improved connections with people who live far away. Many people have monthly Zoom meetings with family members that they never had before, or weekly Zoom family gatherings. Other comments included increased caution, dealing with isolation. And then one person talked about the hidden blessings of what they had learned through the pandemic and their relationship to technology, and how they had been forced to adapt to new ways of being. Many people, not many, a number of people talked about the value of relationships, that was enhanced. Increased feeling of generosity came up. And again, living with uncertainty was something that had personally changed for them. The fourth question was, what gifts do you receive from your connection to the UUSA? And the most frequently heard response was the opportunity to serve. Another gift that they receive was their connections to small groups. Small groups is a really important piece in our spiritual community. Other people talked about deep sharing and spiritual connections and a feeling of acceptance. Sunday services, RE, friendship, connection to the UUA, the umbrella organization, and they did step it up during the pandemic. I think many congregations heavily leaned on their guidance. And the fifth question, what do you feel you bring to our congregation? And the most frequent response, well, one that was very frequent was from people who had been at other UU congregations. And so the experience that they bring to this congregation was something that they feel that they contribute. And then again, a willingness to serve. A couple of people talked about that they were good listeners. Other responses included words like reliability and support, that they bring their skills, their organizational skills, their leadership skills, their work in social justice. And the last question, what changes would you like to see in our spiritual community? And by far, the most frequent response was social events. They wanted particularly social suppers to return. Other responses included wanting the return of joys and sorrows and the closing circle, which I think is already happening. Other ways people would like to see change would be in parent groups, or in an anti-racist workshop, social action. Different ways to solicit volunteers came up. Study groups, adult RE. So in both the Zoom and in the live cottage meetings, people seem to really respond well to these meetings. They shared that they felt safe and enjoyed listening to others. They appreciated the time that was shared together. The in-person meetings were palpably more satisfying. You could see people's body language. You know, there was spontaneous laughter and eye contact. It was really more meaningful for me. I mean, the Zoom worked, and we need to continue Zoom because of people's fears, which came out in these cottage meetings. But when John asked me to think about how the cottage meetings and how they dovetailed with sociocracy, I thought about it for quite a while. I've been thinking about it all week. And certainly the design of the cottage meetings had a number of elements that align with sociocracy. We talked in rounds. We committed to deep listening and no cross-talking and awareness of time. And I think that these agreements led to a deep sense of trust among the participants. And I think trust is a piece in sociocracy that might be lacking in other models of organizational work. The design of sociocracy, and I'm new to it, so I'm just learning this too, but the design is intended for groups of people who share a mindset, who share a sense of identity, and who are respectful and inclusive of one another. The groups that and the organizations that employ sociocracy have a clear purpose or mission, as do we. And the members are all committed to the mission, and it is often up in front of every meeting. And then the things that we actually do to fulfill the mission are our aims. So every committee has, it embraces the mission of our spiritual community, and their aims are also supporting that shared mission. The cottage meetings, we explored our likes and our dislikes and what we hold dear and what we would like to change. And those responses to those 6 questions, I think, possibly can give an initial shape to developing aims for our community. Sociocracy is a way of balancing individual needs with group needs. And again, that basic ingredient is trust. Trusting in the decisions that will be made in keeping with our defined aims. So I see sociocracy as an experiment in new leadership practices and new ways to collaborate. And the pandemic has taught us that change is difficult, but it has also taught us the importance of being in right relationship with change. So I think my big takeaway is that we want to consider having carefully constructed cottage meetings every couple of years, just to keep us all together and just to make sure that all of our voices can be heard. So thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Susan.